Well, welcome everybody. We're glad to have you guys here. Thanks for taking the time to stop by and learn about zero waste. This is a true zero waste workshop. We have some great people speaking. I'm going to start out just by talking about zero waste and what that means for your facilities, for your business, and then introduce you to the True Zero Waste Certification Program. After that, we're going to have Coco Vinny, who has handed out some coconuts already today. Easy way to make friends. Everywhere he goes, he just carries a whole bunch of coconuts with him. And they recently became the first True Zero Waste certified facility here in Las Vegas. So he's going to talk about that, about the zero waste practices at his business, what that means for Coco Taps, and then Stephanie Berger from True Zero Waste. The Director of Transformational Market Transformation, is going to talk a little bit more about the program, a little more detail about what the certification process looks like, some of the resources that the True program has to offer, and those types of things. So, we got a lot to cover. We want to leave time at the end for questions, for hanging out, for networking, for drinking coconut water. Good, so myself, just a little bit of background on myself. I'm a sustainability professional, been managing sustainability for organizations for the past 10 years or so. Started as the sustainability coordinator at Hawaii Pacific University in Honolulu. Had the unfortunate luck of having to live in Hawaii for 5 years. So brutal on me. Was also the president of the Sustainability Association of Hawaii as well, where we engage businesses in a conversation around sustainability, provide businesses resources, and do a lot of workshops like these to talk about how they can implement sustainable practices and how that can benefit their business. Moved to take a job in the wine industry. I was the Director of Sustainability at Fetzer Wine Company in Northern California. Title moved from Director of Sustainability to Director of Regenerative Development as our strategy kind of evolved and we moved beyond sustainable to actually try to restore, revitalize, and regenerate as a company. I also teach sustainability at Mendocino College, and then last year moved to Las Vegas, where I started a sustainability consulting firm called Sustridge, and there's a website you can check out. Another piece that might be valuable for anyone here, I also produce and host a podcast called Sustainable Nation. So I interview global leaders in sustainability. We've just hit over 75 episodes, and a good amount focused on zero waste. So we have interviews with Stephanie on zero waste. We've interviewed Rick Anthony and Gary Liss, who are two of the zero waste experts in our country who have developed zero waste plans for the city of Austin, the city of Boston, Santa Monica, and done a lot of amazing work. So could be a good resource for anybody who's looking to learn more about zero waste or sustainability in general. What I want to start with is talking about your waste. So what do you waste? What are the issues kind of that you're facing at your organizations, maybe that are stopping you from moving towards zero waste, problem issues, those things that you think maybe constitute a large majority of your waste. So I'd love to just take 2 or 3 minutes, and chat with the people around you. Grab 2 or 3 people, talk about your waste, and then we'll discuss that very briefly before we jump into the presentation. And that's really what the True Zero Waste program is all about. It's addressing these things like redesigning, rethinking the way we operate, changing culture, designing, working with procurement to eliminate these plastic items before they even come into your facility. So just think about those issues that you talked about as we go through the presentation. We're going to go through the various aspects of the True Zero Waste program, and I think you'll find that there's many parts in this program that will address those issues that we're talking about. But as Vinny mentioned, this is William McDonough. I really come from the school of thought of William McDonough, and that is that there is no waste in nature, as Coco Vinny mentioned. When you think about nature, everything has a purpose. Everything is utilized. Everything has value. There is no waste. So the waste that we're creating really is the result of design flaw. It's things are designed inefficiently. And so it takes rethinking and redesigning the way we make our products, the way we operate our buildings, the way we operate as a society. It's about rethinking, redesigning. If you don't know Willie McDonough, he's an author. Him and Michael Berger came up with the cradle-to-cradle design principles, and that is really that designing things, designing buildings, designing products in a way that really has no waste. So materials are reused again as biological nutrients that compost and become soil, or technical nutrients that are used over and over again in a circular economy. So 2 books that he wrote, Cradle to Cradle and The Upcycle, highly recommend anyone check those out. Also, he was on the podcast, so we have an episode with William McDonough that you might find valuable as well. So why zero waste? It's important to talk about the benefits of zero waste, especially if you're in an organization and you're trying to pitch this to your CFO, the executives, and I think the first thing is obviously the environmental impacts are what get discussed. We should do this because it's good for the environment. We're reducing our greenhouse gas emissions. We're reducing material extraction and all these associated environmental impacts. But it really goes beyond that. Cost savings is a big one. So obviously if we're eliminating waste and the cost with that waste, we're saving money. And we're going to talk about some case studies later today where you'll see some companies, some organizations that have moved towards zero waste and are saving a ton of money doing it. Increase in efficiency. If you're not dealing with all this waste, you're reducing all that time it takes to handle it, to manage it. You're creating more efficient, clean operations in your business. Also, employee engagement is something that doesn't get talked about a lot. Companies that have a commitment to sustainability, have a commitment to the environment, studies show that their employees are typically more engaged, they're more productive. One study I point you to is the National Environmental Education Foundation, NEEF. They do these studies on the impacts of sustainability on employee engagement. And these trends continue to grow. More and more people want to work for a company that is about more than just maximizing profits. They want to work for a company that brings some sort of benefit to the world. So that can be a really positive impact. Another one is, attracting customers. The same kind of reasons why people want to work for that company. People want to purchase from companies that are about more than just maximizing profits. They want to purchase from companies that share their values and their beliefs. And again, this type of research continues to grow. Nielsen has done some studies around consumer behaviors and sustainable purchasing. Cone Communications puts out a report, I think, every year, so a lot of great information on those types of things. If you can't find them, you can email me. It's my job really to study all that stuff and collect all that, so I can share all that with you. Spurring innovation, engaged employees who are always looking for new ways to reduce, new ways to do things more efficiently. This can really lead to innovations in your business. Not just how your products are made, but how your operations are ran. If these employees are really thinking of themselves as resource gatekeepers and looking for ways to reduce impact, that can lead to new ways of how things get done in your business. And PR and marketing, people love to talk about sustainability. They love to talk about businesses doing great things. Coco Taps became zero waste certified. We'll talk about that later. But they had their press release picked up. They got a lot of great buzz for what they did. It's just people are interested in it. So it's basically free marketing and free PR for your business. If you're setting ambitious goals, you're doing great work. These are just some of the benefits that you can realize. And of course, reducing risk and liability. There's potential regulations. If you look at a state like California, just most recently, AB 1826 is a law that is requiring businesses that have more than 1 cubic meter of waste per week, so basically like 1 dumpster of waste per week. Starting in January, those businesses are going to be required to have mandatory organics recycling in place. So they're going to have to recycle their food waste and their organic waste if they produce over 3 cubic yards of waste per week. So a lot of those types of things, this can really prepare you for those types of situations. So now let's talk about actually getting started. You are interested in zero waste. Maybe you have buy-in. Where do we get started? And the phrase in the sustainability world, you can't manage what you don't measure. So first, you really got to start tracking. So understanding what your waste looks like, your waste streams, your recycling, and the metrics of those materials coming in your building and going out. So that'll help you create a baseline to understand, the metrics and how much waste you're sending to the landfill, how much you're sending to be recycled. So you want to look at things like waste to landfill, materials being recycled, materials being reused, maybe materials that are being sent back to vendors to be used again, materials being composted, and the costs associated with all of this. So what does it cost for you to send all this stuff to the landfill? What are you saving by reusing some of this stuff? What are you bringing in for rebates or revenue through recycling? So the first step is really tracking all of this stuff. So getting a nice spreadsheet, looking at monthly data so that every month you can see how much material you're sending to the landfill and where the rest of it's going. That way you have your baseline, you understand where you start, and then you can start establishing goals. Okay, we want to reduce waste to landfill by this amount. And now you have a system in place to track your progress towards those goals. But this is what's going to give you your diversion rate. So when we talk about diversion rate, which we'll touch on here a little bit more because it's one of the requirements of the True Zero Waste program, is this is the amount that you're diverting from landfill and incineration. So basically, it's pretty simple. You're looking at your total materials diverted from the landfill divided by your total materials. So for example, if a company sends 30 tons of waste to the landfill and they send 70 tons to be recycled, they're diverting 70% of their materials. So they have 100 tons total, 70% is being recycled, reused, or composted. They have a 70% diversion rate. So for True Zero Waste certification, you have to have a 90% diversion rate. Does that make sense to everybody, diversion rate? And we also want to be clear that it's you're diverting from the landfill and incineration. So if you have waste that it might not be going to the landfill, but it's going to an incinerator and it's getting burned, that doesn't count towards your diversion rate. We don't want to be sending things to the waste to energy plant. So once you're doing this, you're tracking, you understand your diversion rate. Now you can start, setting your goals. You can start putting your strategy together around how you're going to reduce waste and how you're going to increase your diversion rate. And that is, what this True Zero Waste program is so valuable for. It's not just a certification program for those businesses that are already zero waste and they just want to get certified. This is a really great framework to guide those businesses and guide those facilities in that process. So we're gonna dive into that. The True Zero Waste certification program. It is administered by the Green Building Certification Inc., GBCI. So the same organization that certifies buildings as LEED certified, they certify True Zero Waste. And there are 7 program requirements. So these 7 requirements are, you have to have these in place to become certified. First one is having a zero waste policy in place. So that is just a policy for your building, for your business, for your facility that you're trying to get certified, that really guides your zero waste work. You have to have at least a 90% diversion rate, which we mentioned. So 90% of all materials used need to be recycled, reused, composted in some way, diverted from landfill and incineration. You have to meet all of your waste and recycling laws and regulations, which I'm sure everyone is already doing. You have to have a base year of waste data. Less than 10% contamination level for your materials. So if you're recycling, doing a great job of recycling, but 50% of that is dirty or contaminated and cannot be recycled, then you wouldn't qualify. You have to have less than 10% of those materials contaminated. Submit 12 months of waste data annually. So you need 12 months of data to get that 90% diversion, and then to maintain that certification. If you go for certification, you'll submit your 12 months of data every year. And then submit a case study to GBCI. So the story, your zero waste story for your facility. And so on top of these 7 program requirements, those are what it's required to get certified. There's also credits. We have 81 credits. And those credits are various zero waste practices and policies and programs that you can implement, and you have to have at least 31 of those to get certified. So you got those 7 program requirements, and then you have 31 of the 81 credits, and you would be eligible for certification. So here's a look at the different categories. As you can see, it's not just reduce, reuse, recycle. We have things, like upper management, upstream management, training, closed loop, zero waste analysis. So we're really looking at, every aspect of how we can reduce waste in an organization. It's not just, here's the materials that we can recycle or compost, let's do it. It's how can we reduce those in the first place and take a holistic approach to reducing waste. So if you get 31 points, you can become certified, and then there's some additional levels here. You can become silver, gold, and platinum, just like the LEAD program. So what I'm going to do is just run through these, not all of them. We don't want to go through all 81, but I just want to give you an idea of some of these categories and the credits behind them, so what they mean. And again, try to think about those things we talked about at the beginning, some of these waste issues that a lot of us are facing. So redesign. This is what we talked about, redesigning the way we operate our buildings, rethinking the way that we operate, trying to reduce waste before it's even created. So a few of the credits here, right-size collection containers and service levels. So that means taking a look at your recycling bins, your trash bins, and making sure they're the right size. There might be opportunities for you to save money immediately just because your bins are too big, right? And they're going to charge you more for bigger bins. Or if they're getting picked up 3 times a week, but you only have enough trash or material in them where it only needs to be picked up once a week. So it's looking at these things, where can you, automatically adjust these things to be appropriate for your waste streams. And then that's something you want to continue to assess, especially if you're reducing your waste, increasing recycling, you're going to need to adjust those bins, and that's where you save money. So you want to continually look at that. Restructuring solid waste collection agreements, so working with your waste haulers, your recyclers, and finding ways that can incentivize you to actually reduce your waste. Complete review of supply chain. So taking a look at your supply chain, we talked about plastics. Are there ways that we can adjust our purchasing to eliminate some of that stuff so we don't have to deal with it? It's doing an assessment of your supply chain. Where does our waste come from? How can we rework the way things are done in the front end so that we don't have to deal with that stuff on the back end? Redo. So we have developed systems that emphasize reuse. Coco Taps will talk about what they're doing. I mean, they get their coconuts in a cardboard box. The cardboard box is used again twice. It's used to hold their coconuts when they're branded. It's used again to ship the coconuts out to their customers. So where can we reuse materials over and over again? Going paperless for at least one office function. I think we all understand that so many things can be done digitally nowadays, and paper can be eliminated. So take a look at that. Where can we go digital and reduce, not just reduce paper, but save money and do things more efficiently. Setting up printers to duplex printing. So setting up your systems in your facility to automatically print double-sided. I put a policy in place at Hawaii Pacific University when I was there. Just a simple thing of going to IT and having them set all printers to automatically print double-sided saved us $30,000 a year in paper. And then it's as simple as putting that policy together, sending out a memo, and saying if you want to print single-sided, just make sure you click single-sided. That's a lot of money, a lot of waste that you're reducing. Something like reduce yard trimmings through native landscaping and xeriscaping. not a huge issue here in Las Vegas, or hopefully not. Not a whole lot of grass here, but just different ways where you can actually, reduce. And then reuse. Developing systems that emphasize reuse. So where can materials be reused over and over again? Establishing a program to reuse office supplies. At HPU, we had the HPU swap meet, so it was kind of like an online Craigslist, just specifically for that organization. So if an office or a department had materials or equipment or furniture that they no longer needed, they would snap pictures of them, and a different department who might need something goes on the swap meet page, and it's just sharing stuff within an organization. Getting creative like that. Use reusable, durable food serviceware. So we talked about utensils and disposable cups and plates and knives and forks. So, where can we eliminate that stuff by using reusable products? Donating all food safe for human consumption. MGM is doing a lot of great work here with 3 Square, a local organization that donates food. So I think they are planning to provide 800,000 meals to food insecure folks here in Las Vegas by 2020. So reaching out, making those partnerships, that's obviously a huge issue in Las Vegas, is all this food waste. Participating in animal feed programs. The same thing, we have pig farms here. Where can we, this stuff all has value. So it just takes, taking some time to think about it. Then we have composting. Composting, collecting compostables separately from other materials. You have separate bins available to collect organic material that's going to be composted. Are you composting your food scraps, your organic waste like paper towels, utilizing, reusing compost or mulch on site? So all those different things. So you can see that, bringing in compost or mulch to use on site, that doesn't necessarily affect your diversion rate, right? But it does promote the compost market. It helps grow the compost market. So it's some of these credits will take you outside kind of the boundaries of your building to look at your overall impact on a zero waste circular economy. Zero waste reporting. So document diversion by commodity or weight. We talked about that. Are you tracking all of the materials that are going to the landfill? Are you tracking the plastics, the glass, the different products? How are you able to break those up? And are you tracking the weight? This, I know, can be a tricky issue for some buildings, depending on your waste hauler, depending on the size of your company. I met with Republic Services a couple weeks ago, and if you have your own roll-off dumpster or roll-off recycling bin, those types of things, they can give you the weight. So when they come and pick that up, they can tell you exactly how much that material weighed. So that makes it super simple for you just to take that number. Here's my monthly recycling weight. Here's my waste. But I know some of you might be sharing dumpsters, or you might have a smaller dumpster where Republic Service is going to dump that into their truck along with a few other customers, and they're not going to be able to give you a weight. So for things like that, you kind of have to do a little additional work, maybe monitor that dumpster when you know it's going to get picked up, and record, okay, it got picked up today, it was 3/4 of the way full. So you've marked that down for each pickup. And then that will, you can estimate how much weight would be involved in a 3/4 full dumpster or a half dumpster or things like that. So sometimes you have to get creative. It's not always as easy as just getting those numbers from your waste hauler, but it is extremely important to be able to, in some way, track these things. Even if you do have to estimate, you just use the best estimations that you can and keep, working with those. EPA WARM model. This is where you can input your waste, your recycling, all your materials, and it'll tell you the greenhouse gas emissions impacts of your waste streams. And then when you reduce and you increase recycling or you increase composting and you reduce that waste to the landfill, it'll tell you how much you're saving. So that can be really valuable for your corporate sustainability program or any greenhouse gas emission goals you might have as a company. Another good one from EPA is the WasteWise program. So that's basically an online platform for you to, again, input all of your information, and then it helps you set goals, set targets, and track and monitor your progress as you reduce your waste. Zero waste purchasing. So this is really, essentially an environmentally preferred purchasing policy. This is a policy, it could also be known as a sustainable procurement policy. So a policy that really guides your purchasing at your building, at your business. So a document that says, we prefer compostable materials, reusable materials, remanufactured, repurposed, things like that. So you get credits for that in the zero waste assessment certification program, and then for these different preferences that you have, you'll get credits for that as well. And I've developed a template that we use to help develop Coco Taps, their sustainable procurement policy, and I'm happy to share that template with anybody. And I think it might be posted, or they were going to post it at the True Zero Waste website at some point. But you can reach out and I can send you that. Leadership, another aspect, top zero waste goal at upper management level. So getting that top level support from the executives, from the upper management of the company or the facility to show that we have a zero waste goal. It's important at all levels of our company, and to show that we have support from the highest levels of the organization. And then reviewing diversion metrics with upper management. You get points for that as well. Encouraging and incentivizing employee participation. So getting employee engagement programs like a zero waste team or a sustainability team. This can be extremely valuable that I saw at Fetzer when I was there at HPU, and most sustainability professionals will tell you that having those interdepartmental sustainability teams that meet maybe once a month can be extremely valuable. You're kind of breaking down silos in the organization. You could have someone from sales, someone from facilities, somebody from accounting, and you bring them together to identify opportunities to move zero waste forward, sustainability, and things like that. A good way to engage employees in zero waste. And then take responsibility for company products and packaging. So this would be leadership of, the apparel industry is doing a lot of great stuff around this. So Levi's, I know, takes back some of their products. And Guess just announced a huge program this year, a nationwide program where if customers come to their store and they bring, I think, 5 items in, they get a 15% discount on their purchase. So they're promoting folks bringing their material back so that they can take it apart and use it again. The apparel industry is doing a lot. The carpet industry, there's a carpet company called Interface and Shaw Industries, and both of them have been doing a lot around cradle to cradle, which I mentioned earlier, but taking back carpets and really just deconstructing that and using that material again for new carpets. Pretty amazing. Zero waste training, so providing your zero waste policy to all of your employees, making sure that everyone's aware of it. Employee orientation, so when you have new employees come aboard, you typically have an HR orientation. You go through all that boring paperwork and all the required PowerPoint presentations, but incorporating zero waste into that and talking about zero waste as a priority here. Here's our goals. Here's what you can do to help out. And I've also developed some templates for these types of trainings as well, and happy to share that with anybody as well. Training purchasing agents. So those people that are purchasing, again, those resource gatekeepers that can really make an impact. They make decisions every day that can reduce waste or can create a whole bunch of waste. So these people, these key points in your facility, in your business, that need to understand this type of information. So zero waste analysis, and this is really conducting a waste audit. Anyone here ever conducted a waste audit before? A couple of people. What did you think of it? Yeah, you learn a lot. It's not the most exciting and sexy thing to do in the world. Take a bunch of garbage out of a dumpster, and you tear it open, and then you weigh all the materials. So you understand, wow, 25% of our waste is office paper. Why is that in the trash? That should be recycled. We need to create more messaging or more policies around office paper waste. It really opens your eyes up. And there's kind of that difference there. So that's a waste audit where you're physically going through your trash. And then we have a zero waste audit. And that's when you're auditing your supply chain, your procurement practices, your bins and your dumpsters, and kind of all these other things about redesigning and rethinking that we're talking about. Kind of the difference there between a zero waste audit and a physical waste audit. So back on just these last couple of categories in the certification program, upstream management, I think it's important that we look at our relationships with suppliers, not just as business transactions, but as partnerships, and moving from transactional relationships with our suppliers to transformative. So how can we work together to increase value for each other, to help each other reach our goals? And what I've found from the zero waste work that I've done at different organizations is that suppliers are typically more than happy to work with you to help you meet your goals when you have these types of programs in place. So that was a big thing that we did at Fetzer, was work with our suppliers to eliminate waste from packaging so that we don't have to deal with that waste before it even gets there. We work with them to return items, like return boxes that can be used again over and over. We're returning rubber bands. And of course that saves them money as well. So having those conversations and really looking upstream. Hazardous waste prevention, pretty straightforward, but a few of the credits here: properly handling your hazardous materials, saving your hazardous waste records for 3 years, reusing or recycling your universal waste, and collecting universal waste from employees or customers. So we would have big drives at HPU where we'd have opportunities for all the employees to bring in their electronic waste. And we'd bring in a vendor that collected electronic waste. They'd bring a big truck, and all the employees and from their households and their families, they all brought in their old cell phones or printers and things that needed to be taken care of responsibly. So closed loop, this is kind of what we were talking about, cradle to cradle. Require 30% recycled content paper and 20% janitorial product. So looking at recycled content products that you're purchasing compost from a local source, or ensuring the materials that you recycle stay in local markets. So, what if our waste and recycled materials could stay all within our community? So the materials that we recycled stayed in our community, and they were used again to make products that we were able to purchase back. Or our food waste and our organic waste is composted locally in our community, and we bought that back to use in our landscaping, our gardens. This is, the ultimate goal, the circular economy, closed loop system, and these are kind of what these credits are starting to get at. It seems kind of like a far off distant fantasy right now, but that's, all of these facilities, all of these businesses that start implementing these practices and commit to these things, that's how we're going to achieve the circular economy. And then innovation. So what are you doing innovative or different, participating in upcycling programs? So I know Vinny takes back some of his coconuts and makes products out of them, makes plant holders out of them. How can we take materials and not just recycle them to downgrade their value, but upcycle them, to actually use them again in a way that is more valuable? Committing to reduce total discards annually, or implementing innovative waste reduction activities. So this can look at different things that you're doing that might not be covered in the certification framework, and give you credit for those types of things. So before I hand off to Vinny, I just want to touch on a few of these case studies. I mentioned Fetzer. It became the first zero waste certified wine company in the world back in 2014. And they've been tracking waste since 1990. Been doing a lot of great things. But the year I left was 2017, and we were at a 99.2% diversion rate. So all the materials in the winery, the 1,000 acres of vineyards, the production building where we bottled, all the office buildings, 99.2% of that was either recycled, composted, or reused in some way. And what that led to for the company, the year that I left, was $600,000 a year from cost savings, from those avoided landfill fees, and from revenue from our recycling. So, you know, a lot of times I'm out talking about zero waste, and people will ask, is it expensive to get started, a zero waste program? What are the upfront costs? I mean, that's just clearly a huge business opportunity. And then we look at someone like Tesla in Fremont, California. They're zero waste certified. You know, they have composting throughout all of their offices, in their cafe. They have sorting stations where they're sorting materials. They have a 97% diversion rate in a car factory. And for them, that leads up to $30 million a year in savings for that company. So, you know, this isn't just about protecting the environment. This is about creating a competitive advantage for your business. So these types of things are important when, you know, you're advocating for it within your organization. When you're trying to get this discussion in front of a CFO or a finance team, is let's talk about the business case. And now I'm going to hand it off. His name is Coco Vinny. He's the founder of Coco Taps. You've probably seen him on Shark Tank if you ever watched that show. But he just became the first true zero waste certified business in Las Vegas. So he's going to talk a little bit about that. Thanks, Josh. We'll have you wear this if that's cool.
So I'm Coco Vinny. I'm the founder and chief coconut in charge at Coco Taps. And we are a zero waste coconut beverage company, distribution company, and we are proud to be Las Vegas rooted's first zero waste company. It's been a process. I invented this tool about 4 years ago when I broke a knife on a coconut. And we invented the Coco Tap. It's a fabulous invention. Yes, it is. It allows you to drink fresh coconut water right from the coconut, eliminating the plastic bottles, Tetra Paks, and cans that are polluting our ecosystems and landfills. In the fridge, it lasts up to 4 weeks, so that's amazing because we're partnering and leveraging nature's packaging. That's one of the things that we try to do with everything we do in our company. We want to leverage and listen to Mother. Mother Earth is the end-all be-all. If Mama's not happy, nobody's going to be happy long-term. So we're the only zero-waste true certified company in Las Vegas at the moment. Many, many more to follow our lead, hopefully. But we are blazing a trail for success. And, the sustainability departments are there now. But we feel, and I feel that it's more than a department. And they call it corporate responsibility, but it's more than that. It's just being responsible humans. We all need to be responsible, period, because we're all here together and we all rely on food, air, and water. And unless we all take care of this beautiful rock that we're floating around on, it's really going to disappear. We'll all be, like I said, Mother Earth will not be happy with us. She can take us out. She brought us in, she can take us out. Here's our little dream team here. We've got some new additions to the dream team already, the Coco Dream Team. There's myself, Coco Joe. He's actually making deliveries right now to a bunch of places on the strip. Coco Rod's in the audience. Josh Freedy was kind enough to join our regenerative advisory board about a year ago, and he's taught us so much. He's a wealth of knowledge. He has a great consultancy, and he's helped us tremendously. With his help, we got zero waste certified, and so we're very grateful. We are in we have some amazing partners already. MGM, Venetian, we've got Cosmopolitan, Wind. We just landed a beautiful distribution deal with Cormark, which means we're going to be in 7-Elevens and AMPMs and gyms, and we're really, really grateful to getting the traction at such a young age. We're about 3 years old. We're going on our 3rd year now, and next year should be phenomenal growth and a lot of good things happening. We're very ambitious to get into cruise ships, theme parks, more resorts and as many places that we can get into. So some of our values are really simple in design. It's always about eliminating, repurposing, reusing, just kind of thing, and always just kind of tapping into it. You know, you gotta feel your purpose and why you're buying what you're buying and where it's going and where they got it from, what you're buying, where is it coming from, what's the source, thinking about things in a circular manner, not just a segmented manner. So closing that loop, I'm super excited about circular economic models, meaning, you know, cradle to cradle, where you can make money at every step. As a business owner, I want to maximize that circle and keep everything in it. I love the idea of just there not being any waste, zero waste in an organization, just like it is in nature. That's money. That's right there. If you have no waste, you have more cash. So that's exciting to us as a business. We are soon going to be partnering with some great organizations in town. One of them being the University of Nevada Reno Extension Office has 4 acres where we're going to start to take back our coconuts. We just launched a test pilot of the Tap Back Reward program, where we're actually going to get the coconuts back and the taps. The taps will get sterilized and reused into our manufacturing. The coconuts will they open them up, they can plant little cocoa planter pots, then the kids are going to be selling at farmers markets things that they grow in them. So that's really cool. Also, this can be turned into cocoa mulch. So we have some chippers. We're going to be grinding it down, using it as ground cover, and fully regenerating everything in the chain and keeping it in a circular manner, which is really cool, guys. I mean, I geek out on this stuff because in order to, I think, go into the next couple of decades, we really got to get here quick. So I'd like to be that voice and help as many other companies collaborate and get on board and share information to get there. It's not a competitive landscape anymore as far as this. It's a collaborative landscape. We have to really work together and collaborate. It's not us versus them or left and right. And, you know, we really are all in this. There's 7.6 billion people. That's going to turn to 9 billion people. That's going to create more resource demand on the planet. We all have to really utilize it in the most efficient and zero waste way possible. So some of the things that we've done in our own facility, Josh mentioned the boxes. If you guys see those boxes in the back that these coconuts came in, we get them from Thailand that way. Then we repurpose them. We prepare everything, use them, and then we deliver to our customers in that box, and then ultimately our customers recycle that box. We take back as many of those boxes as we can also if they don't use them. We've totally gone paperless. Everything that we deliver is in a digital manner, so they digitally sign the invoices when we drop off an order. We don't print at all if we can avoid it. If we do print, it's double-sided. Let's see. We actually, sometimes our coconuts will come wrapped in these like weird, like spongy styrofoam materials, and we hate that, but when it does come in that, we repurpose, and we actually put it up on Craigslist, and people have come and they'll pay us $1 for a whole load of it, and they use it in packaging materials and whatnot, so we've done some of that. Any shrink wrap that comes over the coconuts, we recycle that, as well as the pallets that our coconuts come on. We've actually created we have a cocoa cooler, and we've made stands out of the pallets. We had a carpenter come and build actual coconut cooler stands from the broken and used pallets. So we repurpose and you get really creative with this stuff. So it's kind of a fun little way to get your brain out of the ordinary. That's really it's an adventure. It really is, and we are the champions of zero waste at the moment, since we're the first zero waste certified company in all of Vegas, and we're one of the youngest and smallest companies in Las Vegas So it's kind of a unique position to be in, where you have multi-billion-dollar conglomerates and you beat them to the game all of a sudden, which is neat. You know, guys, there's no limits to where this can go. We hope that everyone in this room will help become part of our Coco crew. Now that you're all tapped in, if you're not going to take your coconut with you, please give it to us. We'll reuse, repurpose all the material that's sitting on there at your table. And I'm really blessed and honored to have you sitting here in this first monumental event. So I really appreciate you guys listening.
Okay, well, welcome everyone, and happy Friday. Now, I'm not sure in Vegas if your Friday's really your Monday with the weekend and everything coming on, but I'm very excited to be here, and oops, I thought it went forward. There it is. So as Josh said, my name is Stephanie Berger, and I'm the Director of Market Development and Market Transformation for the USGBC. And sometimes I wear two hats. Sometimes I'm USGBC and sometimes I'm GBCI. What is most important is I'm here to be your advocate. I'm here to help you pre-certification, and during certification, and after certification. So like today, we're going to be celebrating Coco Taps. True certification. We'll stick around for a group picture. So I come from the environmental stewardship, really working with communities, got my feet wet, if you will, in plastic pollution, and working with Captain Charles Moore. And so that's really where I come from, because I've seen what pollution does, what all of our waste does to our communities, especially our underprivileged communities, and to our ocean. And we always talk about the plastics in the ocean, but the plastics are in the Great Lakes, they're in our rivers, they're in the Mississippi, they're all over. So really, how do we stop it? And we actually say the solution to plastic pollution is zero waste. And literally going upstream and figuring out what is causing it and closing the loop and creating a circular economy. And I think that is very important. Zero waste, circular economy, closed loop are synonymous with one another. And we really need to push that forward. So this is just a few of the companies that are certified, and everybody always asks, well, our office buildings, our hotels, our manufacturing, everybody can get certified. Schools can get certified. Little tiny facilities up to Microsoft's facility in Redmond, Washington. It's basically a city. It's over 25 buildings, and it has restaurants and labs and office buildings and everything. And then I also want to note that sometimes the best way to get started, if you have a very large facility, is to take a facility within a facility. So that's what Disneyland did. They've made huge strides. They couldn't even say zero waste when they first started working with us. And now they have a mandate of getting to zero waste. So what they did in the resort, both in California and in Florida, is they certified a couple of facilities within Disneyland in the Walt Disney World. And this did two things. It showed that it could be done. And then secondly, it inspired the rest of their cast members. So like you, they have a lot of people bringing in things, and so they don't get to dictate what people are bringing in and how they're handling them, and they just have huge numbers like you do here. So that is an opportunity. Another thing I want to point out is that zero waste is a team sport. So we have Northrop Grumman working with Raytheon and working with Lockheed. And you can imagine the number of confidentiality and trade secrets that they can't share, but when it comes to waste and trying to find a solution to their very difficult materials, they all like to work together. We have Albertsons, Safeway, and Whole Foods working together, and they visit each other's sites and everything like that. So it's a really non-competitive opportunity. And then this quickly, I'll go through how do you get certified. So it doesn't matter where you're at, if you're only diverting 10% or if you're at, the 99%. I'm here to help you even before you get to this step. And with that, we have lots of webinars, user calls, and everything. But what you do is you register your facility. There's a form online to register your facility, and depending on if you're a member or non-member, it ranges from $1,200 to $1,500 for registration. The great thing about registering your facility, even if you don't think you're ready, it sends out a notice to leadership and all your employees that we're committed to getting to zero waste. And it really expedites the process. What we found is once people register, they might think it's a year or 2 years out. It actually expedites it to maybe 6 months. It really gets people committed. And then, of course, using all of our tools and our resources, it expedites the process. So then you implement your strategies, and honestly, most people have already implemented their strategies, but you take our scorecard and start filling it out, and then we provide you a Dropbox, and then, one folder is for redesign, one folder is for reduction, one folder is for reuse. So you can start putting your documents in there. And I strongly encourage, whether you're getting ready or going through the process, to take one category at a time. And they do leverage one another. So when you get your redesign done, it actually, you probably are getting some other credits in the other categories completed. And we do have a review team. They're not consultants, so they're not going to do the work for you, but you can submit your documentation and then ask for an initial review and say, is this right? Am I submitting my diversion in the correct format and calculating it correctly? And then you submit it. Once you pay your certification fee, then we basically lock it down, if you will, lock down your application in your Dropbox. We assign an assessor, and they start going through and reviewing it. People get very freaked out about that process. We're here to help. So the assessor is not going to say, oh, that's wrong. They're going to go back to you and say, do you have more clarification on this? And we understand that working with the waste industry and this whole thing can be very challenging, and it can be overwhelming. But we are here to help you. And then we have an assessor come on site. So unlike LEED, which is very calculated, if you will, and very regimented, zero waste is really about the culture. So you can have the best policies, but if you haven't trained your employees, then they might not actually be implementing it. And that's why I tell people that's always part of your zero waste audit, not just to dig through your trash, but to walk around and see what your employees are actually doing. And that's what basically our on-site assessor does. And then he interviews key employees. He or she wants to interview employees that have just started, employees that have been there for 10, 15 years, your senior and your entry level. And then, once you get approved, you need to accept your certification, and then we celebrate. And you can have a little celebration where we just send you your certificate, or a big celebration. We've invited, the mayor and different legislative, and had a big press conference at Sierra Nevada. We had a beer tasting to go along with the celebration, so that's always fun. And then you do submit a case study and your project profile, which goes up on our website. And here is our website. I strongly encourage you to go on it. We're adding more and more resources and more events and webinars. Like I said, we're starting a user group. So in January, every other month, we will have a call, and you can just call in, and we'll have an expert talk for a few minutes, and then we'll just share ideas and share challenges. Because trust me, everybody's dealing with the China fence, which there are major solutions to that, and then composting. Composting keeps changing, and those products they're accepting and not accepting, and then there's a lot of great innovation going on. So I encourage you to go there. And then our True Advisor, if you are especially if you're the lead on your project or a consultant, the True Advisor is an online course, so it's great. You can go in and start reviewing one module and go out and come back in three weeks later and do it, but it is a professional certification, so there's an online exam, but it provides case studies. It shows you how to right-size your bins, right-size your service, how to do a zero waste audit. Really, really great information. And we're also offering a 50% or $50 off till the end of the year. So hopefully that'll encourage you. So these are some of the resources that are available. The rating system is basically your zero waste plan. It goes through all the categories that Josh went through and the credits, but more importantly, it talks about potential strategies. It gives exact documentation or how the documentation should be presented, and then all of these go into detail. The guide to certification goes through the plan and everything. And here is all of our information, Josh and Coco Taps and myself. And I would just end with a couple of helpful tips. When you're talking about having a zero waste committee, yes, you want to have a core committee, but especially in big organizations, just have each department, when they're having their department meetings, talk about zero waste for 5 minutes. So just put zero waste on every agenda, because what zero waste really is about efficiency and saving money. And we all want to talk about that. And then the ultimate goal is not to only get rid of your trash bin, but to get rid of your recycling and your composting, because we want to close the loop and work upstream, because that's where the money is. You want to be up here?